here's the thing. When I was backed by a big firm, and even when I worked in nonprofit, I worked for a very large nonprofit. I raised a lot of money, and I felt very protected and safe because of the entity I was representing. I was actually representing the entity, right? When I did my work. When you go out on your own, and you know this, Tom, you've done this for 25 years, but for a lot of people, it's very scary. It's
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. It's very vulnerable. It's very, unusual. It's not normal. People say, what are you doing? What do you mean you're leaving this big law firm? Are you crazy? Like, do you know people are beating down the door to get into this firm? But when your truth is your truth, you need to follow your truth. And
Right.
even though it's scary, the piece of advice I sort of give, if it's helpful to anyone, is it's going to be uncomfortable, and you just keep doing things that are uncomfortable.
Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing, where I, Tom Foster, talk with legal leaders about marketing mindset and the growth of law firm businesses. This episode is brought to you by my own company, Foster Web Marketing. Since the internet was born, Foster Web Marketing has been the premier provider of customized websites, marketing, video, and strategic marketing solutions for elite law firms. Our unparalleled web technology and marketing systems set the gold standard in the industry, catering exclusively to a discerning clientele who demand the best. Partner with Foster Web Marketing to experience uncompromising quality, cutting-edge technology, and exceptional service. Visit fosterwebmarketing.com to discover how we can help you achieve your most ambitious goals and solidify your position at the forefront of your field. But today, guys and gals and everyone and thems and whatevers, we've got a truly unique guest on our show. Joining us today is Lisa Fraley, a woman who has redefined what it means to be a lawyer in the 21st century. Lisa isn't your run-of-the-mill attorney. In fact, she's called a trailblazer, a visionary, and even an alchemist. I love it. But perhaps the most intriguing description, she's full of what she calls legal love. With 2 decades of legal experience under her belt, Lisa's journey is anything but conventional. She started in the world of corporate law, specializing in healthcare and bioethics at a prestigious law firm. But as many of us have experienced, the corporate world wasn't quite the right fit. After years of long hours fueled by peanut M&Ms and Starbucks, I'm sure many of our listeners can relate. Lisa decided it was time for a change. She became a life coach back in 2003, and later, to tackle those persistent sugar cravings, she became a health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in 2012. Lisa's passion for wellness led her to dive headfirst into health coaching, working one-on-one with clients, and delivering an impressive 72 corporate wellness seminars in just over a year. But here's where it gets really interesting. Lisa found a way to combine her extensive legal background with her newfound coaching skills. The result? She carved out an entirely new niche for herself as a legal coach and holistic lawyer. And those are terms that she's even trademarked. Fantastic and well done. So without further ado, let's welcome Lisa Fraley to the show and dive into her fascinating journey of reinvention and legal innovation. Lisa, welcome to the world of marketing. How are you?
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
You got it. So, what got you into, let's start way back. You became a lawyer, right? You said,
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Why did you become a
Right.
lawyer? Like, you're from
Well, I think I was always one of those people who sort of knew I wanted to be a lawyer. My father worked tangentially in politics. And when I was in high school, I was in a mock trial with my friend. And we argued in front of the Ohio Supreme Court chamber, which was a big deal in front of the Ohio Supreme Court justices when you're in high school. And my friend and I won our case. And I thought, there might be something to this. I had been toying with either going to medical school or law school. So I was a political science major with a big focus on a lot of zoology and sort of pre-med classes. And I realized that I could go to a law school that actually had a strong health law program. So I went to a school that allowed me to take a ton of classes in healthcare law. And then when I got out, I got a job in the largest health law firm in the state of Ohio. And that's where I worked for many years, eating those peanut M&Ms and drinking that coffee.
How many years was that?
I was there for just over 5 years.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, I had gotten pretty advanced as an associate, and I knew at that point that it wasn't the place I was probably meant to land my whole life. So out of respect for the firm, you need to leave, I think, prior to getting to your 7th year, because otherwise they've invested in you this whole time and then you choose to leave. I think that's not personally for me. I don't think that was a respectful way to treat the firm. So I knew when I knew I needed to go, I left the law firm.
Because you're a good person.
Well, I was really grateful. It was an incredible firm. I had incredible mentors. It was a really good place. And at that point, I knew it wasn't my final landing ground.
You left the law firm because you didn't like it, because you had something else going on, or
Yeah, no. I left the law firm because I was having sort of a dark night of the soul, right? I sort of knew this wasn't for me. I didn't exactly know what was next. So I worked with a life coach actually way back then and realized, this is really interesting. I think I will learn to become a life coach. I'd always been interested in personal growth and development, which was unusual in the law firm where I work. And so I followed sort of that trail to going to Coach U back from 2000 to 2003 and became a life coach. But at that time, people didn't really know what to do with life coaches. They didn't really know what they were. They didn't really know what they did. And so at the same time, I realized that one of the best ways I could serve the world was to go into nonprofit. So I actually worked in nonprofit fundraising for many years with major gifts and planned giving, and raised $32 million in gifts and nonprofits from individuals over the time that I worked in nonprofit. Still was interested in this coaching thing, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. I wasn't ready to have my own business. So it wasn't until later on that I sort of realized as you had mentioned in the intro, I had been dealing with sugar cravings and I just didn't feel like my best self. And so I thought I learned about going to health coaching school. So I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and became a health coach. And that's where things sort of took off because I left my job. I worked as a health coach. I gave those corporate wellness seminars, which were amazing. I had 100 clients in my first year because I had that life training background, that life coach background. So I could blend the life coaching and the health coaching together. And I hung up my shingle as a health coach and I thought I would never be practicing law again. And funny things happened because as I went along, one of my coaches actually said, Lisa, you have this unique background being a healthcare lawyer working in a big healthcare law firm with licensed practitioners, hospitals, all sorts of things, HIPAA, JCO, patient care, ethics, all kinds of things. And you have this unique background as a coach. Are you sure you don't want to find a way to work with coaches around the law? And at first, Tom, I was like, no. I don't want to be a lawyer again. There's no way. And as it turned out, I did. And I ended up reinstating my license and working as I started to call myself a legal coach and attorney, kind of to bring the flavor of coaching into law. Obviously, I can't be a coach when I'm working with clients in a legal sense, but I can bring sort of the care and love of a coach into the practice of law. And that's what I did back in 2012.
Well, it's so cool. So how long were you doing that coaching after? How long did it take for you to snap to?
Yeah. So I went to IN in 2011. And by June of 2012, I was, I started my business as a legal coach and attorney and reinstated my license, opened my LLC, obviously, to start all over again and create my own business. So it didn't take that long, Tom, but I had to flip the switch, right? I came from a big law background, which was an amazing law firm. But when I was there, it was still they may still be today, they may have loosened up today, but it was very tightly run. It was obviously billable hours based, which is understandable, but there was not a lot of room for my personality, my personal interests. It was very much based on your brain and your time. And I get it. I understand those firms have to make money and pay all their hundreds of lawyers. I get it, and take care of their clients. And I had wonderful, wonderful mentors. So I could take sort of the best of what I got from the law firm with the knowledge and understanding of the law, and then be able to combine it with the care of a coach to make law a little bit more approachable and accessible, particularly, I will say, for female business owners, perhaps who've not come from a corporate background, who wanted sort of a warmer approach to the law.
Good for you. Good job.
I never could have predicted it in a million years. That's for sure.
No, nobody can. I mean, like, I predicted my trajectory, right? So that's it. The
Right. Totally.
The entrepreneurial.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs and law don't usually go together.
No, they don't.
In the same person.
But there's a lot of them, though, actually, as you know, because you're coaching them, right? Well, these lawyers that are also entrepreneurs, there's a few out there, and they're interesting cats. So you brought it up, but your mentors. So who are some of your mentors that gave you the best advice in your journey?
Wow, my mentors at the law firm were Marty Baxter, Catherine Ballard, and Jim Flynn. And all three of those attorneys, based in Columbus, Ohio, actually, some are no longer with the firm; they're retired. Some are still there. Jim is a managing partner. I worked for Bricker and Eckler when I was there. It now has a new name, but it was they were really, really good people who really cared about the growth and development of the young lawyers at the firm. They are ethical people. They are very committed to their clients. They brought heart to what they do, as well as their brilliant smarts. They brought humor. They were very well-rounded people, and it was a great experience for me. And there were times when they stood up for me to other lawyers when my research was correct and another lawyer was doubting my legal research. It was just a wonderful. I learned a lot from them. Yeah, I really did.
What kind? And you might have already said this, so forgive me. But what kind of law did you all practice?
It was healthcare law. Healthcare law. So that the firm represented the largest number of hospitals in the state of Ohio, but also some physicians practice groups. And I worked primarily on the side, not mergers and acquisitions and the tax side, but I worked more on the patient care side, rules and regulations of hospitals, the review process, credentialing, physician relationships.
So more preventive.
Yeah, preventative. Exactly. And that's exactly what I do now. So I did work for a short time in the litigation department around workers' compensation and some of those cases, which was good experience.
Yeah, personal injury and all that.
Yeah. But I'm not a litigator by nature. I learned a ton, but it was not my favorite place. So the healthcare law and helping people protect their practices on the front end, whether they're doctors or health coaches or wellness practitioners or others, yoga teachers, yoga studio owners, fitness studio owners.
I get it.
All in this health and wellness space. I mean, chiropractors, physical therapists, it runs the whole gamut, but I help them protect their practice on the front end so that they aren't violating state laws or licensure laws or medical laws, but also so that they're protecting themselves with corporate entities and trademarks and contracts and things like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's quite a combo of everything that I've learned along the way.
It is, and I love it because, we have a lot of personal injury lawyers. I don't think that we have any, and I've worked with thousands and thousands of lawyers. I've been doing this 25 years. So thousands of lawyers have come through my doors with websites, right?
Sure.
And I don't think I've ever worked with a healthcare this that I know of, that I can recall.
Interesting.
Which I love this, preventative, like you get it before it happens kind of thing.
It's just like preventative health and wellness, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Exactly.
Okay. So any other mentors? Like you said, you had coaching mentors, right?
Yes, my coaching mentors early on were Stacy Morgenstern and Carrie Peters of, at the time, Holistic MBA. Now it's called Health Coach Institute. And they were wonderful in teaching me how to build an online coaching practice, because no one teaches you along the way, right? Like, how do you learn to be an entrepreneur? How do you learn to have your own business? And especially
Yeah.
coming from law, where we come from such a structured background, whether it's a big firm or a small firm, it doesn't matter. We still learn the practice of law pretty much the same way, no matter where you are. It may vary a little bit based on the energy of the workplace, but in general, we all sort of follow the same path. We know what to do. That we're trained in school and we're trained by our mentors. But in coaching, it was like the Wild West. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to build a practice or a website or a newsletter list, or even putting myself in my red dress on my website was such an uncomfortable thing to do, because lawyers don't put pictures of themselves wearing dresses on a website or having photo shoots. It was just such a whole new world for me. And part of the role, I've had many, many, many coaches, but part of what is at the beginning, I think part of what those coaches did for me was to give me the courage and the confidence to go ahead and do this, even though I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. Because in the practice of law, we're not really big on letting people think we don't know what we're doing. And we're pretty good at preparing ourselves so that we know a good part of what we're doing. So it's unusual in law to be unprepared. But in coaching, you don't have the ability to be prepared because you've never done it before. So that was a very important transition between the structure of law versus sort of this creative Wild West of the coaching world.
And that's what struck me when I was doing my research about you, preparing for this podcast. I was struck. Your website is fantastic.
It's unusual.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
It's unusual. It's unique. It's unusual. It's fantastic. I just love it. And that's why I told you I was very excited to meet you, because I was like, wow, obviously that's my passion, right? So I'm like, wow, what a great website. I can't wait to meet this person that's put this thing together. So great job. Great job.
Thank you.
I hope I get to be on this You've Seen Me In. I hope I get to be on this panel one day.
Yes, thank you. You're great. That's awesome. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your program. Like, we've talked about, you know, how you got there. So tell me a little bit about the coaching program itself.
How I work. So I am a lawyer. I'm a practicing lawyer. And what I do is I do legal education, not in the formal sense, obviously, but I help educate doctors and coaches and licensed practitioners and other small business owners, basically how to not violate laws, particularly related to medical laws, licensure laws. I try to help them. I can try to help keep the licensed medical practitioners who are during COVID in particular, of course, had many of their practices shut down or unable to see patients unless they worked in primary care or mental health care. And they didn't know what they could do to be able to expand their practice or cross over state lines, but without violating the law. So what I teach them is ways that they can enhance their practices, things that they can offer, programs or services or products they can offer that are not the practice of medicine or the practice of chiropractic medicine or physical therapy or whatever it is, but is purely educational content and information, so that they can expand their income streams, they can expand the work that they do, they can reach more people and invite them to come to their practice, but not violate the law. And so that was where I combined sort of my background in understanding licensure laws and medical laws with understanding the online space. I understand what coaching programs are. I understand what online courses are, or online cleanses, or online detoxes, and
Right.
DIY products, things that they could actually do that aren't the practice of law. Now, I do not recommend that doctors have be a coach and a doctor in the same practice. They cannot be both roles in the same practice. So I educate them about things like that. What can you do in a medical practice? What can you do in a coaching practice? What can't you do together in the same practice? So Tom, that's how it evolved, was based on the time of the pandemic, as people were trying to expand their income and their influence, but they really had no idea what to do. And so I decided this was a great niche to start focusing on, to help them stay legal, but also expand.
It's fantastic. I love it. And it's very cool, because what you're doing is, you're not just another coach of lawyers, right? That's what I'm
Right. I'm a lawyer
You,
of coach. I'm
you,
actually a lawyer of coaches and a
you,
lawyer of
you,
doctors. And I
you're
also
right.
help
You're
them
lawyer.
understand,
Right.
right, how to keep those types of work separate, but what they
Like
can do in each instance. What's
right.
that?
I'm a coach, right? I'm a coach.
Yeah,
I'm an
right.
entrepreneur. I hire you. You're my lawyer now. Right. So there
Well,
you
for
go.
some things, not all things, I always have to represent that. I obviously have to tell you to work with local lawyers about certain things. There's some things I can do and can't do, but there's a lot that I can help with. And I also have a team of people licensed in other states that can help with certain things. I am very clear about that
And I want to
because,
talk to you. I want to talk to you more about that for sure. After after we're done, I want
yeah,
to set up a
well,
time with
you know, we
you.
lawyers have laws too, right? We have to follow our ethical guidelines and our laws about what we
Sure.
can and can't do. So a lot of what I do, honestly, Tom, is teaching information, not formal representation. I do with certain things, trademarks, LLCs, S corps, creation of nonprofits, things like that. But much of what I do is teaching people the principles of how to operate online in ways that are generally legal and safe. And that's what they just don't know. They don't know who to talk to. Their local lawyer doesn't understand the online space. They may be a fabulous lawyer, but they don't really understand the online space. And even conventional healthcare lawyers who are fantastic at health law don't understand coaching. They don't understand online. They don't, they don't typically learn this, and vice versa. If you go to an online coach, they may be a great coach, but these doctors are going to great coaches, but the coaches don't know the law, and the coaches are actually telling them to do things that are not legal, like to niche down to a specific area based around a disease state, like become a diabetes coach. And you can't do that. That violates the FDA and the making a medical claim. So this is
It's
what I help
HIPAA.
them understand is the
Right. Yeah.
distinction between the two.
This is fantastic.
Thank
Like
you.
I feel so lucky, so fortunate that that we found you, Lisa, and you are. It's an honor, and I'm going to definitely talk to you more about how you can help me in
Sure.
my company, because
Happy to.
I need somebody like you taking a look and making sure we're doing everything the way we're supposed to be doing it. Because we
Sure.
just got in trouble recently, and thank
Oh
goodness.
no, what happened?
But I don't know what this is.
Well, I
Your
was thinking,
show.
is this a teachable moment
This
where
is
you could
not.
help other
Yeah.
people learn? Wondering if there's anything we can do to help people listening, because they get in trouble sometimes too,
Don't
and to
let your
help them learn.
insurance lapse.
Oh, don't let your insurance lapse.
Don't let your insurance lapse.
That's a great tip. That's a fabulous tip. That's correct. Don't let your insurance lapse. Everyone should have insurance, whether you're a this
Yep.
is also what I teach, whether you're a doctor
Yep.
or
Have
licensed
your
medical
business insurance.
practitioner.
Yeah.
You need medical malpractice insurance. If you're a coach, you need separate coaching insurance. Don't get it as a rider on your medical malpractice. Please don't do that. Get separate coaching insurance. And then, of course, it's, you know, Tom, based on the type of coach you are, that will determine the type of insurance that you need for your professional liability insurance. That's a very wonderful point that you just shared with everyone. Thank you for sharing that.
That was, and then thank you for drawing it out of me, even though that was difficult for me to disclose to
well,
the
but
world.
you know, Tom,
I was an idiot.
people, things happen, and you don't even realize it's happening.
Like
yes,
I've been doing it business 25 years.
Right.
You know, like things, it just happened. I mean, like, good Lord, it just. This is a good segue, because I was going to ask you, what are some of your pitfalls, mistakes? You know,
oh, my pitfalls and mistakes. Turning points. Okay, so I think for anyone, if you are a lawyer wanting to start your own firm, or you're a lawyer who wants to be an entrepreneur, or you're a lawyer who wants to be a coach, or a doctor who wants to be a coach, or, you know, no matter what it is that you do, I think the hardest part coming from a licensed profession to an unlicensed profession is understanding what you can and can't do. And also finding the courage, because here's the thing, when I was backed by a big firm, and even when I worked in nonprofit, I worked for a very large nonprofit. I raised a lot of money, and I felt very protected and safe because of the entity I was representing. I was actually representing the entity, right? When I did my work. When you go out on your own, and you know this, Tom, you've done this for 25 years, but for a lot of people, it's very scary. It's very uncomfortable. It's very vulnerable. It's very, unusual. It's not normal. People say, what are you doing? What do you mean you're leaving this big law firm? Are you crazy? Like, do you know people are beating down the door to get into this firm? But when your truth is your truth, you need to follow your truth. And
right,
even though it's scary, you need to do it. So
You
I
follow
think
your
for me,
gut.
pardon?
So you've got to follow your gut.
You got to follow your gut. Yes. And the piece of advice I sort of give, if it's helpful to anyone, is it's going to be uncomfortable, and you just keep doing things that are uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it's,
You
you've
have
been
to
doing this for
challenge yourself
25 years.
constantly.
Yes. And I've been doing this since 2012. It's now 2024, 12 years, not as long as you, Tom, but every time I do something new, it's still uncomfortable. I'm still outside my comfort zone. It still doesn't feel like
Me
I'm
too.
convinced it's going to be 100% successful. We have no idea because we've never
No.
done it before. And just to keep doing it and keep going and keep tweaking and keep editing and just keep going.
Well, that's the role of the entrepreneur. And, you know,
Yes.
our journey, it's a journey, never ending
That's
journey, right? Of us, you know, like flying or digging or whatever, you know, analogy, but it's nonstop. And you're always,
Yeah.
you know, course correcting, and you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there, everybody. Okay.
There's no there.
There's just no there. You're just going to keep going on this journey, this path, okay,
Yes.
where there is something at the end, but you'll never get there. So don't worry about it. But just pick a path. But that's funny. It's funny.
But I think the piece that
You'll never
surprised me,
get there.
you'll never get there.
I know.
But the piece
It's a funny way to look
that
at it.
surprised me is that it like obviously as I grew as a lawyer in the years that I worked, I felt more confident and more competent as I grew, right? You feel more
Yeah.
knowledgeable. Healthcare is a particularly challenging area because it has so many different micro areas included. Like I remember being envious of my friends in real estate law going, you just have to know commercial and residential, and that's it. Whereas I felt like I had to learn all these Medicare, Medicaid fraud and abuse, and JCO, and credentialing, and hospital rules and regulations, and mergers, and like it was a whole microcosm of everything. So it took a long time to feel like you actually knew anything. And ironically, although by the end, you know, I did feel like I did. However, in this business of having my own business, I feel much more competent, obviously 12 years in. But again, every time you do something new, like the first time I did a photo shoot, the first time I sent a newsletter, the first time I started my podcast, I have a Legally Enlightened podcast. That was scary. When I wrote my book, Easy Legal Steps That Are Also Good for Your Soul, that was scary. When I created my first online program, that was scary. When I created my first DIY legal template, that was scary. Like every single thing. And I'm not a fearful person by nature. I just felt like it was new and unusual. And I think that was the piece that I wish someone had told me early on, is that you are very capable bringing all your skills together and all of your personality and all the parts of you, and you get to create a business that matches you and your lifestyle. But remember, it's going to still feel uncomfortable every step of the way. You just have to keep going. And to get to the not place there that we've decided doesn't exist, and enjoy the journey. So I wish someone had told me that when I was much younger and starting off. And I think I wouldn't have felt like, is something wrong with me? Why do I feel like this is uncomfortable? It just is. And you just go with it. And that's part of personal growth. They always say owning your own business is the biggest personal growth journey you could ever go on.
Well, I got to say, you are one powerful woman. I'll tell you that. I'm impressed with you. And I'm serious because you are very confident and composed, and you got it going on. And I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Tom. That's very kind of you to say that. Thank you.
I'm
still always working myself every day, just like we all should be, and improving and growing and stretching every day.
Yep. And, you know, I have a lot of very strong women that work in my company. My COO is a very strong woman, and yes,
fabulous.
All of my, actually, everybody.
Fabulous.
Very
I always say
strong.
it takes a strong man to have a strong woman in their midst.
Well, thank you. And exactly. And we need each other, don't we?
We do.
But I love it, and I love what you've done. So my next question, what are some of the daily rituals that keep you going?
You know, it's funny you should say that, Tom, because so many people got really into doing morning routines and evening routines. And I always like to say I'm a Gemini, which means that I don't know if you're into astrology at all, but I am a variable sign, which means that I don't like routines. Fortunately, my husband is also a variable sign. He doesn't like routines either. We decide that day what time we're having dinner. We decide that night what we're doing. We plan ahead if we need to go out or travel or go to a show or something. But in general, we're very spontaneous. So this morning I did breath work. Yesterday I did a strength training workout in the morning. The day before that, I went for a run. Exercise is important to me. I'm getting more into breath work. I used to do a lot more meditating, but breath work has been particularly helpful to move energy out of the body, which is great. And I just kind of do what feels right. Sometimes I journal, sometimes I read, sometimes I go outside. I'm not consistent at all. And I've learned to just listen to whatever my body needs that day and to do that.
That's
But
funny.
the key is to do something. The key is to do something.
When is your birthday?
June 8th.
Okay. My wife is a Gemini.
Oh, she is. When's her birthday?
Hers is May 28th.
Oh, wonderful. Well, maybe she has a little bit of these tendencies too. The flexibility in how we structure our day. But that's one thing I will say I really appreciate having my own business is I do get to structure my own day.
And she's a powerful woman as well. I'll tell you that right now, who runs the show around here.
That's great.
Yeah. So what is the craziest thing you've ever done?
What is the craziest thing I've ever done? This isn't that crazy. Lawyers aren't that crazy. But one of the things I did was run a marathon in 25-degree weather. That was a little crazy. It should have been a little warmer. I did run a few others that were warmer. But when I look back
running
on that,
a marathon is in the crazy category in and of itself. Okay.
But a lot of lawyers have run marathon. Like 10% of lawyers have run marathons. It's not
okay, but I think
surprising.
that a lot of people on this show will be just impressed that you ran a couple of marathons.
Well,
and there happened to be one in 25 degrees. That was crazy.
But like at my law firm, my mentor, one of the mentors I told you about, Marty Baxter, she ran 30 miles on her 30th birthday, and then she ran 40 miles on her 40th birthday. So running one marathon was really a couple of marathons wasn't really a big deal. Our managing partner at the time ran 25 marathons. So like I was like small potatoes. But the fact it was 25 degrees was very cold. And looking back, that I did that when I was young, and that was probably why I did it then. I'm not sure what else I would label as crazy. I haven't jumped out of an airplane. I don't know. I'm not sure. What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
I got to really think about that.
I know it's not.
I got
it's
a
hard
lot of stuff.
Oh, you have a lot of stuff. Oh, that's good.
Sure, but the craziest. I mean, I probably would say going in the Marine Corps. Initially was the craziest because it was so opposite. Oh yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
But I went in, I was just a wild man, and I went in and signed up for 6 years, and and was gone in 3 months off to the Marine Corps and didn't look back.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for serving our country.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Okay, so who are the colleagues you respect most
today?
Yeah.
The colleagues who I respect the most are coaches who are sort of leading the way. So Marie Forleo has been a female leader who created B School in the online space, and I have followed her for many, many years. I prefer, no offense, Tom, to the men, but I like following women who've gone before me to sort of pave the path. My friend Kate Northrup has been a wonderful leader in this space. She helps people with their financial strength. I do listen to lots of podcasts, but in terms of on a personal basis, my coaches and some national female coaches have been really inspiring to me.
Well, I want to introduce you to one of my dear friends, Kia Arian, who is also a very powerful woman.
Cool.
Who does results-driven marketing. Like, she's a brand manager person. She's like gets into you and figures you out and creates the brand. So and she does a podcast that you need to be on, The Results-Driven Life.
Thank you.
So I'm going to introduce you to Kia.
Thank you.
Because I think
you know everyone. You know everyone, Tom.
I know. I don't know everyone. I know a few people.
You know a lot of people.
I know a lot of people to introduce you to because they need you, Lisa. Like everybody that's not.
Well,
That's
they need you
listening to
too.
this, you should call Lisa. Yeah, of course. But you can help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Anybody. That's
Thank
the
you.
cool thing. Okay, so you said, do you have a favorite podcast? I guess that those people that you follow, you would categorize as that. What about a book? Favorite books that you've read recently?
Favorite books that I've read recently.
Yeah, you a book reader?
I am a book reader. I think I would have to go not so much recently, but some of the books that I have grown from and appreciate is the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I don't know if you've heard of that book before. Yep.
I've heard of it.
That's incredible. The Big Leap by Gay Marcia Hendricks. The Big Leap, that's a book that talks about your upper limits. And it talks about a lot of things, but one of them is how sometimes we reach our upper limit and we have to become aware of that, expand beyond the subconscious limits that exist for ourselves. I like personal growth books. I like books that challenge me to remove blocks in my way. Now I'm sounding like a coach. How do we remove the blocks in our way, whether they're conscious or subconscious, so that we can move forward? Those are two of my all-time favorite books. Let's see. There's so many. Right. Yes, it's hard to think off the top of my head, quite honestly. But those two books changed my life. And so did Anatomy of the Spirit, actually, by the way, by Dr. Caroline Meese. Anatomy of the Spirit. And that was a book that talks about, spirituality, but also it combined with emotional health and physical health, and connects emotional health and physical health to different parts of Judaism, Christianity, and also the chakra system. Fascinating. Healing. It's a book about healing. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's just on your website. I saw that on your website, that how you connect the chakra. I was like, wow,
I do, yes. We haven't talked about that yet, but one of the things I do uniquely.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, I was sitting at my computer one day and I got sort of what I call a divine download, where it just sort of was revealed to me, or dawned on me, that there are 7 main steps that most small business owners need to take in their business as they grow. 7 main legal steps. And each of those steps align with the 7 chakras in the body. And for people who are not familiar with the chakras, it's the energy system of the body associated with Eastern religion, typically Hinduism, but they're energy centers of the body that correspond to different areas of emotional health or physical health. And it helped, I think, for people in my health and wellness space who are familiar with yoga and familiar with chakras. It made it easy for them to understand 7 steps legally, because most people who aren't in the legal space, bright people, still get overwhelmed by like step 4 because they just don't speak law, right? So when I would align 7 steps with the 7 chakras and help them understand what step to take at the right time, it felt less overwhelming. And so, for example, there's website documents, which is associated with the stuff. Like most of the website documents are associated with the heart chakra, right, because they protect the heart and soul of your brand. And, a privacy policy on your website builds trust with your website visitors to help them understand that you're going to hold and value and respect the information on the website.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
Chakra, like I could go on, but it's
different way to look at the law, for sure. I cannot wait to work with you and get more of this. This is fantastic.
It's a different way to look at the law.
I know.
And part of it, because what I teach is that the law, I always say the law is energetic too. Because when you take legal steps in your business to form an LLC or to register a trademark or to use a contract, I believe, and based on what my clients have told me, that you actually shift energetically in the way that you show up in your own business. You feel more confident, you may feel more secure, you feel 100%. Safer, you relax, you aren't as stressed, wondering if someone's going to come after you or you're doing something wrong, 100%. Because you've already set in place the right steps that you need, and your whole nervous system can relax, and then you can go forward and attract and work with the clients that you want to work with. So I talk about the law being energetic, which is unusual. Obviously, it's protective in all the ways we think about to reduce risk and to protect your work and to honor your work and to reduce your liability and all the traditional things we think of in law. But the energetic side was a piece that I thought was missing. And that's how that all unfolded.
Well, this has been an experience. I mean, it has been great to know you and an honor to just sit down here one-on-one. I know you're a very busy lady, and and everybody, she rescheduled this for me when I got caught up, so she's been very gracious,
of course,
and kind, and you can just tell. And I'm telling you, I'm talking to her right after this about hiring her for working with me, everybody. So get in line after me. So lisafraley.com, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That is how you get to her. And I encourage everybody to go check out her website because I am blown away by it. Love it. And I want her to look at mine and say, what, this is not following the chakras.
You're so funny. Thank you, Tom. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here today, Lisa. And so with that, is there anything you would like to say before we go?
No, I just appreciate the work that you do helping lawyers and doctors and other entrepreneurs have the right marketing in place, because marketing is so important and it can feel daunting when it's not your expertise. It can, like I mentioned before, it can feel scary sending out a newsletter or creating a website or trying to figure out the tech side is not in most people's comfort zone or wheelhouse. So it's wonderful that you do the work that you do. And that you represent yourself with guitars on the wall and show the multifaceted personality that you have, because part of what makes us unique, I think, in what each of us do is to show parts of ourselves that make us different from other people. And that can require the help of an expert to do that. So I appreciate that you're there to help people really fully express themselves on their websites and in their marketing and get their message out to the world, because people need help. So thank you.
They do. Well, thank you for saying that. That was very kind. All right, everybody. Well, it's Lisa and Tom bidding you a adieu and farewell. And we'll see you next time on The World of Marketing, everybody. Take care.